Okay, y'all, this is one of the rare non-tumbler or epoxy related tutorials. So with all of the COVID-19 stuff going on, it is practically impossible to find any kind of mask right now. And I work in healthcare, as you probably already know if you've seen any of my videos. I do talk about my coworkers a lot. So I am working on some masks because we do have to continue working even though we've cut staff, which is really, really sad. And we are cutting back our schedule and only having one doctor. We still need to be there. So I know already that these are not CDC rated to stop the COVID-19 virus. I already know that, but having something is better than having nothing. So that's what I'm going for here. This particular mask is a modified version of another tutorial that I saw on YouTube, and I will actually link that into the description. And I think I'm gonna try and upload my pattern that I made. So I just did this right here. I cut two different fabrics because it is reversible. One of my coworkers is hardcore into saving the turtles, not like the crazy people kind of things like camping out and boycotting things, but donating to wildlife funds and using reusable products anytime possible. So this one is hers. Mine was Nickelodeon on one side and Nintendo on the other. So mine's the only super obnoxious one. Just backstitch a little bit there. I used to sew all the time, but it's been a while. So this is what we have here. This is going to go forward like that. And then the other is going to, that writing is straight up upside down. Maybe I'm holding this upside down. Okay, yeah. So here's the nose. That makes me feel better that I did not get that upside down. Towards the end, we're gonna put this little piece of metal in there. I'm gonna file down that end right there before I do it. This metal is something that I bought to make my daughter some American Girl hangers. I just got this from the hardware section, probably at Walmart. It's gonna be good enough. It won't be the most comfortable, but I'll be able to bend it, or she'll be able to bend it once it's on to fit her face. So that's what that step is. And then we're going to put them together. I'm gonna leave an opening here so that we can put a filter in there soon. I don't know what we're gonna filter it with. I'm gonna let the boss figure that out, but at least this gets us where we need. Okay, so I have this pinned back here on both sides, opposite sides from each other, because when it's mounted together, excuse me, pieced together, they're gonna go like that. We want the opening to be in the same spot. So the first one I made, I did my opening way over here so that whenever I folded this in, it was sticking out the hole. That's not what we want. So I moved it out about a 1/2 inch. We moved it in towards the nose there. I'm gonna clip these curved corner or curved seams, but not yet. I found earlier that it's actually harder whenever that's a little flap right there versus a bigger seam to piece that together. So I'm just gonna put a small seam right there, or not a seam, but just a short stitch right there, about 2 inches long on each piece. I'm gonna do it here since my top stitch looks nicer than my bottom stitch. This is a really old machine, so sometimes it pulls the thread kind of funny. So I'm gonna go just a little bit on each side of each pin, and I'm using this, I forgot to move my machine forward, sorry. I'm using, it's probably less than 1/4 inch or so. Just kind of like you would do a top stitch pretty close to the seam. and then just backspace a little bit so that it doesn't undo on us. Just like that. Pull that like that. And I'll snip those in a little bit. So we're going to do both sides. So just maybe early December, maybe, this particular coworker and I got to meet two legendary Manchester United players. I kid you not, that girl almost had a heart attack. She's only 34. She almost had a heart attack whenever I told her what we got to do. One of the reps from one of the companies we work with, they had the opportunity to do that and invite some people, and they knew how hardcore she was on her soccer, so they invited 2 people from our office, so it was pretty great. So that's pretty close right there. Maybe not perfect as far as alignment goes, but not far from it. So that's all we're going to do at that particular spot. Snip those, snip that. Okay, so next we are going to pin these together. Okay, so I've got this pinned. I've got this little part right here. We really don't have to go all the way up to the other stitching. Just that little 1/2 inch right there will make all the difference that we need. I've got these pinned flat right there. And we're gonna go all the way across. We are not gonna do this part yet, but we're gonna do top and bottom. And this I'm going to do like the typical 3/8 inch. My center stitch with the width of my presser foot there. Literally, this is just a few stitches here. Just enough to create that little section there, because then whenever it's folded over, it'll be good. The same thing here. I'm actually going to go from this direction because I can see this a little easier when I'm going towards it instead of away from it. I know you're not supposed to sew over your pins, but I totally am guilty of doing that all the time. I don't think I've been at my machine since I started doing cups a 1.5 years ago. I'm a little rusty, but I wanted to get this out here because I am working on these for my coworkers, like I said, and I think it could be helpful. I know there's a lot of people posting right now, so if you're in some groups, keep an eye on that. You might find an even better tutorial to reference. That's pretty good too. It's not perfectly butted up against it. That's okay though, because I'm going to top stitch in a little bit. I don't talk a whole lot whenever I'm sewing. There's a good story behind that. Years ago, my niece is 8 now. Years ago, I was working at night. Kids were just in bed. Husband was at work. I'm sewing right along, and all of a sudden I realized my hand is bouncing up and down with the needle movement. I have no idea how it happened, but I sewed right through my finger. It went boop, right to the side. I don't know how it didn't go through my fingernail. I'm sure it would have been much more painful if it did, but it was quite traumatic. Even to this day, my kids say, "Mom, don't sew through your finger." And I'm like, I did it one time, and that was after like 20 years of experience sewing. So I'll never live it down, but it's a good story. here's where we are. Take all the pins out here. So that's where we are there. Top and bottom connected, or front and back connected, I should say. So what I'm going to do now is go through and clip, literally, not right up against the seam, but pretty close. Kind of like that. Because on a curved fabric, when you have it curved like that, it just kind of bunches. It's not able to like go the other direction very easily because it's got the resistance of this pulling against it. And you can do more than what I'm doing here. I got off camera, sorry. You can do more than what I'm doing here. You could actually go a little bit closer. I've been burned in the past of doing it too close, and then it kind of showed through. And I was kind of upset about that. My seam didn't cover it up, so let's do one right here. You can kind of see how it gives that weird resistance right there. Same thing. This is awkward for me. The first one of these I recorded was a hot mess. But it was also because I was kind of stupid in trying to record my very first attempt at this. It's only like okay to do that on cups when you're doing like an ink swirl or something, or basic glitter, because best believe I won't be recording my very first Aurora Borealis or shiplap or anything like that. I don't see me doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off that chunk right there. That way when I turn it inside out, it'll actually lay a little bit better. Won't be so chunky right there. Smooth that out just for good measure. So in a little bit, like I said, this is going to go in there. I'll probably slip this in there and top stitch right on the other side of it, because it'll go like right there. All right, so I'm going to get the next step ready. Here's how I'm going to get this in here, by the way. I'm going to slip this little thing in here, get it kind of lined up, and I'm rolling it right up to the top of the seam right there. And I'm going to pin that in place right there. Okay, I'll show you all the rest in just a sec. Okay, so we have this pinned all the way around. I'm actually going to sew on this side because I want to start right here next to my opening. I'm going to go down here and all the way around. I've got to be a little bit more cautious right here. This is where that piece of wire is. So just nice and slow. And I'm going to go literally like, it's probably 1/4 of an inch from the edge, like you would on a normal top stitch. Okay. If you're making this for yourself, before you sew this is a good spot to check, or a good time to check that you have your loops long enough and that all of that is good before you set everything in stone there. So since there's going to be plenty of stress right there, I'm going to go ahead and just back stitch over that and right back over it. Oh, I got stuck. Like I said, it's an old machine, so it has its little personality flaws. The first one I did, I didn't have these loops right up against the edge like that. I didn't really like how it looked when I did that, so I moved them to the very edge on this one. And now literally just right here, right up against the edge, best that we can. Come on. I probably have a weird blob of thread right there now. I can always make more of these. This is literally just to kind of get us started. I've seen a few posts of people using pieces of air filter, like you would use in your air conditioner at your house, which is pretty cool. I'm going to apologize in advance. For some reason, this machine likes to beep at me that my bobbin is low way in advance of it actually being low, and it'll beep kind of frequently. And I had to persuade that. I didn't want to go. If it looked like that wasn't moving, it's because it wasn't. This thing is quite temperamental sometimes. Good gravy, that did not want to go. Okay, so my metal starts right here. I'm going to be extra cautious to not accidentally whack it with my needle. Ah, just like that. That's what I'm trying not to do. Get back on track. There'll be one little stitch out of place, but that's okay. Part of the problem is because that metal, yep, I got stuck. Because that metal is in there, it's lifting it up off of my presser foot, or my feeder feet. And then because of my pins being in there, it just gave me even more trouble. So we're done. This is bendable for her. Depending on which direction she wants to go with it. She can wear it this way. She can wear it that way. Two of her favorite things: sea turtles and soccer. I think she'll be pretty happy. And then got my opening right here. Plenty of room to slip something in there as an actual filter. This right here is just fabric, so obviously it's not perfect, but it's a start. So I will do my best to get the pattern that I modified loaded somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to do it or where I'm going to put it, so check back frequently and I'll tell you where I found it. These look uneven, but they're actually pretty good. Yeah, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed my blooper of a rare non-epoxy tutorial. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them. Like I said, this is new for me as far as this goes. I do know that this is not an N95, but it's better than nothing because, like I said, we are in people's faces pretty frequently, so it's a good start. So you guys stay healthy out there. Have a good one.